Welcome to Story Station, episode 31. In this episode, you can listen to 2 Native American stories. The first story is titled, Dance in a Buffalo Skull. What are the fiery, spooky eyes? Why are they moving towards the buffalo skull? Listen to the story to find out. The second story is titled, The Toad and the Boy. Listen to this heartwarming story about a son being reunited with his mother after 10 years. Hope you enjoy it! I will read a story called Dance in a Buffalo Skull. It was night upon the prairie. Overhead the stars were twinkling bright, their red and yellow lights. The moon was young, a silvery thread among the stars. It soon drifted low beneath the horizon. Upon the ground the land was pitch black. There are night people on the plain who love the dark. Amid the black level land they meet to frolic under the stars. Then, when their sharp ears hear any strange footfalls nigh, they scamper away into the deep shadows of the night. There they are safely hid from all the dangers, they think. Thus it was that one very black night, afar from the edge of the level land, out of the wooded river bottom glided forth 2 balls of fire. They came farther and farther into the level land. It grew larger and brighter. The dark hid the body of the creature with those fiery eyes. They came on and on, just over the tops of the prairie grass. It might have been a wildcat prowling low on soft, stealthy feet. Slowly but surely, the terrible eyes drew nearer and nearer to the heart of the level land. There, in the huge buffalo skull, was a feast and a dance. Tiny little field mice were singing and dancing in a circle to the boom boom of a wee wee drum. They were laughing and talking amongst themselves, while their chosen singer sang loud a merry tune. They built a small open fire within the center of their queer dance house. The light streamed out of the buffalo skull through all the curious sockets and holes. A light on the plain in the middle of the night was an unusual thing. But so merry were the mice that they did not hear the king of sleepy birds, disturbed by the unaccustomed fire. A pack of wolves, fearing to come nigh this night fire, stood together a little distance away, and turning their pointed noses to the stars, howled and yelped most dismally. Even the cry of the wolves was unheeded by the mice within the lighted buffalo skull. They were feasting and dancing and singing and laughing, those funny little furry fellows. All the while, across the dark from out the low river bottom came that pair of fiery eyes. Now closer and more swift, now fiercer and glaring, the eyes moved towards the buffalo skull. All unconscious of those fearful eyes, the happy mice nibbled at dried roots and venison. The singers had started another song. The drummers beat the time, turning their heads from side to side in rhythm. In a ring around the fire hopped the mice, each bouncing hard on his 2 hind feet. Some carried their tails over their arms, while others trailed them proudly along. Ah, very near are those yellow round eyes. Very low to the ground they seem to creep towards the buffalo skull. All of a sudden they slide into the eye sockets of the old skull. "Spirit of the buffalo!" squeaked a frightened mouse, as he jumped out from the hole in the back part of the skull. "A cat! A cat!" cried the other mice, as they scrambled out of holes that were large and snug. Noiseless, they ran away into the dark. The end I hope you enjoyed this story. The next story begins in a moment. I will read a story called The Toad and the Boy. The waterfowls were flying over the marshy lakes. It was now the hunting season. Indian men with bows and arrows were wading waist deep amid the wild rice. Nearby, within their wigwams, the wives were roasting wild duck and making down pillows. In the largest tepee sat a young mother wrapping red porcupine clothes about the long fringes of a buckskin cushion. Beside her lay a black-eyed baby boy, cooing and laughing. Reaching and kicking upward with his tiny hands and feet, he played with the dangling strings of his heavy beaded bonnet, hanging empty on a tent pole above him. At length the mother laid aside her red quills and white sinew threads. The baby fell fast asleep. Leaning on one hand and softly whispering a little lullaby, she threw a light cover over her baby. It was almost time for the return of her husband. Remembering there were no willow sticks for the fire, she quickly girdled her blanket tight about her waist, with a short-handled axe slipped through her belt. She hurried away through the wooded ravine. She was strong, and swung an axe as skillfully as any man. Her loose buckskin dress was made for such freedom. Soon, easily carrying a bundle of long willows on her back, with the loop of rope over her shoulders, she came striding homeward. Near the entrance way she stooped low, at once shifting the bundle to the right with both hands, lifting the noose from over her head. Having thus dropped the wood to the ground, she disappeared into her tepee. In a moment she came running out again, crying, "My son! My little son is gone!" Her keen eyes swept east and west all around her. There was nowhere any sign of the child. Running with clenched fists to the nearest teepees, she called, "Has anyone seen my baby? He's gone! My little son is gone!" "Hinu! Hinu!" exclaimed the women, rising to their feet, rushing out of their wigwams. "We have not seen your child. What's happened?" queried the women. With great tears in her eyes, the mother told her story. "We will search with you," they said to her as she started off. They met the returning husbands, who turned about and joined in the hunt for the missing child. Along the shore of the lakes, among the high-grown reeds, they looked in vain. He was nowhere to be found. After many days and nights, the search was given up. It was sad, indeed, to hear the mother wailing aloud for her little son. It was growing late in the autumn. The birds were flying high towards the south. The teepees around the lakes were gone, save one lonely dwelling. Till the winter snow covered the ground, and ice covered the lakes, the wailing woman's voice was heard from that solitary wigwam. And from far distance was also the sound of the father's voice singing a sad song. Thus 10 summers and as many winters have come and gone since the strange disappearance of the little child. Every autumn with the hunters came the unhappy parents of the lost baby to again search for him. Toward the latter part of the 10th season, when, one by one, the teepees were folded and the families went away from the lake region, the mother walked again along the lake shore weeping. One evening across the lake from where the crying woman stood, a pair of bright black eyes peered at her through the tall reeds and wild rice. A little wild boy stopped his play among the tall grasses. His long, loose hair, hanging down his brown back and shoulders, was carelessly tossed from his round face. He wore a loincloth of woven sweet grass. Crouching low to the marshy ground, he listened to the wailing voice. As the voice grew hoarse and only sobs shook the slender figure of the woman, the eyes of the wild boy grew dim and wet. At length, when the moaning ceased, he sprang to his feet and ran like a nymph with swift outstretched toes. He rushed into a small hut of reeds and grasses. "Mother, mother, tell me what voice it was I heard, which pleased my ears, but made my eyes grow wet," said he, breathless. "On, my son," grunted a big ugly toad. "It was the voice of a weeping woman you heard. My son, do not say you like it. Do not tell me it brought tears to your eyes. You have never heard me weep. I can please your ear and break your heart." "Listen," replied the great old toad. Stepping outside, she stood by the entranceway. She was old and badly puffed out. She had reared a large family of toads, but none of them had aroused her love, nor even grieved her. She had heard the wailing human voice, and marveled at the throat which produced the strange sound. Now, in her great desire to keep the stolen boy a while longer, she ventured to cry as the Dakota woman does. In a gruff, coarse voice she broke forth, "Hin, hin, doeskin, hin, hin, ermine, ermine, hin, hin, red blanket with white border." Not knowing that the syllables of a Dakota's cry are the names of the loved ones gone, the ugly toad mother sought to please the boy's ear with the names of valuable articles. Having shrieked in a torturing voice and mouthed extravagant names, the old toad rolled her tearless eyes with great satisfaction. Hopping back into her dwelling, she asked, "My son, did my voice bring tears to your eyes? Did my words bring gladness to your ears? Do you not like my wailing better?" "No," pouted the boy with some impatience. "I want to hear the woman's voice. Tell me, mother, why the human voice stirs all my feelings." The toad mother said, "The human child has heard and seen his real mother. I cannot keep him longer, I fear. Oh no, I cannot give away the pretty creature I have taught to call me mother all these many winters." "Mother," went on the child's voice, "tell me one thing. Why are all my little brothers and sisters unlike me?" The big ugly toad, looking at her pudgy children, said, "The eldest is always the best." This reply quieted the boy for a while. Very closely watched the old toad mother and her stolen human son. When, by chance, he started off alone, she shoved out one of her own children after him, saying, "Do not come back without your big brother." Thus, the wild boy with the long, loose hair sits every day on a marshy island, hid among the tall reeds. But he is not alone. Always at his feet hops a little toad brother. One day an Indian hunter, wading deep in the waters, spied the boy. He had heard of the baby stolen long ago. "There, this is he," murmured the hunter to himself as he ran back to his wigwam. "I saw among the tall reeds a black-haired boy at play," he shouted to the people. At once the unhappy father and mother cried out, "'Tis he, our boy!" Quickly he led them to the lake. Peeping through the wild rice, he pointed with an unsteady finger toward the boy playing unawares. "'Tis he, 'tis he!" cried the mother, for she knew him. In silence the hunter stood aside, while the happy father and mother caressed their baby boy, all grown up. The end. I hope you enjoyed this story. you for listening to Story Station. We are adding stories as frequently as possible, so check back often. We would love to hear your feedback and any questions you may have. Thank you.